But welcome to the idea, guys. Today we're going to be talking about your life as a game. The game of your life and how to play it, or how to win it. First, I need to know: nobody hears the background music, do we? So if you hear the background music, you can give me a thumbs up. If you don't, you can just throw a thumbs down. You just pop that into the chat box. Pop that into the chat box, or the questions, or whichever one it allows you to do. So I'm going to assume that you. Let's see, chat. Everyone. Hey there. All right, so this is how I'm going to know that you're here. Respond to me via chat. This makes me know that you're alive and we're together. We're going to be talking about, though, how to turn your goals into a game, how to gamify life, how to gamify your business, how to gamify really almost anything. So there are a few key things that we're going to talk about in terms of this. Let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? I had this thought. It occurred to me not too long ago. What would happen if we could turn your goals into a game? I was walking down my beach sidewalk, which is where a lot of my novel thoughts occur to me. And I was in the midst of my 10-day book writing journey with a group of other people they're trying to become authors for the first time, and trying to use ChatGPT to do that. And I'd started one book, and then it just didn't feel like right. And then I'd started another book, and it didn't. It started, but it didn't. Nothing. It just, I don't know. You ever have that time where maybe you try something, but it's just not moving? You don't have the mojo for some reason. You're there, but it's just not happening. Well, that was what was happening for me. And one day, I happened to be out for a walk on the beach sidewalk, and it's almost like a download happened. It's like instantly I had this idea occur to me, and within moments, had a book outline written and all kinds of things. But the truth of it is, I don't know. It was a moment of inspiration, and so you guys are really the first to hear about it and the first to receive it. But the thought occurred to me, and it was this: how many children across America today, right now, this very moment, are trying to lose weight, trying to get in shape, trying to build muscle, trying to release endorphins, oxytocin, and trying to, become physically and mentally fit by playing on playgrounds? How many kids are doing that right now? My answer is 0.0. No kids are doing that. No kids are doing that. But how many kids are playing on playgrounds? And as a result of their play, they're losing weight. They're burning fat. They're building muscle. They're releasing endorphins and their oxytocin, serotonin. They're chemically balancing their bodies. And because of that, their brains are sharper and everything. How many kids are doing that? Thousands. I was a school teacher until 2002. So from 98 to 2002, I was a school teacher. And I found that if I could make things fun, the kids would learn. If I just spouted off information, maybe like I'm doing right now, hit and miss. Walt Disney said, I would rather entertain and hope that somebody learns something than I would to teach someone something and hope that they were entertained. There was a quote, you guys have all heard it from me before, and the quote that I saw in the library was like, if you want your children to read more, you should learn to make it taste more like candy and less like medicine. And guys, haven't we all, at one time or another, tried to build something in our life where it felt like you're going against the grain of your identity, or it felt like you almost had to like dislike yourself to do it? It felt like you were eating medicine and not candy. And my question to you is, what if work could be more like play? What if the two were united? What if we could make a game out of life? What if we could make a game out of what our work is, what we're trying, not work like the place you show up and punch the clock and get money for, but what if we could make our work a game? What would happen as a byproduct as opposed to the goal? Very first thing is I would say is decide on a destination. Decide on a destination. So for you guys, this is your vision, right? This is what you want to get accomplished. It's your goal. It's your dream. Maybe you want a net worth of $100,000. Maybe you want to have 10 properties under management. Maybe you want to have 3, we'll call them dogs, on your team, right? Whatever it is, maybe it's advancement, whatever it is. Like, we all have like a next level, a next stage that we want to, and we have to decide on a destination. Well, Donnie, can I pick 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? And I would say you can, but the more you pick, the more you spread out your momentum. Okay? And so the less we're dividing by, the more momentum we can get. And so I'll leave it at that. So decide on the destination. All of you guys have vision boards. That's great. That's awesome. But we have to do that's a part of any game, right? If you're playing Monopoly, well, I guess the game board has a finish line where you collect $200, but you get the idea. We want a place to where we know when we've arrived. What is it? Next, I would say, well, actually, before we define the moves, I would actually choose your game piece. And I don't have them showing up here. But do you guys ever play Monopoly, right? And I don't know. Like, here, actually, I want to know this. What was your go-to game piece in Monopoly? What were you, right? There was the dog, there was the shoe, there was the hat, there was the car. Maybe there's something else. I can't remember. Text me right now. I want to know, text or question, Q&A. What was your game piece when you played Monopoly? Peace in my world is like, it is what is the identity? What do you feel like? What do you feel attached to? What do you like being when you're doing what you're doing? I've been reading and listening to podcasts by a guy named Jesse Cole. And Jesse Cole is known as the Yellow Tux guy. You guys have all, I think, seen books. You've seen me recommend stuff of his. If you haven't, stick around long enough, you will. But his whole thing is like, how can I provide a unique experience? And he literally, so he runs a team called the Savannah Bananas, a baseball team in Savannah, that their whole deal was to make baseball fun again. And so they have like this sideshow circus of all of the stuff that's happening, and there happens to also be a baseball game there. And the guy who leads it all is a guy named Jesse Cole. I don't have his book with me here. But he wears a big yellow tuxedo and a yellow top hat. And for him, that's the piece that he likes to be. He wants to be that funny guy, the fun guy that's just doing things other people won't. Some people, we've talked about this, like when we look at that identity from your, you can go from a personality test. Some of these things are chosen, right? I've got a couple that I'm living into right now, which is I'm looking at like these things on my vision board: the fearless inventor, the generous artist, and actually on my other one is the bold promoter. And that's the reason why I'm reading all of Jesse's stuff again right now. It's because I really want to stir in me like that part of my identity, the bold promoter. And so choosing the game piece that you're going to be is important. Okay. Beyond that, I would say defining the moves. Right? What are the moves that get you from where you're at to where that is? Like, and what I would say is what are all of the ways that could be accomplished, right? And so let's just say, we're all of us, everyone on here is familiar with selling. Maybe like some ways might be I might get, well, I'm writing in pink. I might get leads. I might have program A, program B, program C. I might do referral, or warm market. I might do, social media. So those are like overall strategies that you can imagine that I might have. And the question is what are the moves within each one? And so it's just listing out all of the ways, right, that each of these could occur. Like, maybe this program, and then we automate this, and then we do that, and then I reach out, and then it's like just listing out. Or maybe it's this program. Here's what I would say with referrals, and here's my list. And so I think just like defining, and you can see I'm putting on these little dots here as though it was a move. So the idea is that like we have to first off say there are multiple ways of getting to where I want to get to. Okay? Maybe it's with family, or maybe it's with fitness, or maybe it's like again, think about the kids on the playground. They're getting something good almost by accident. And so what I want to look at is like, how can we get what you want and make it just a byproduct of playing the game? Almost making it into, I don't want to say accident. You get where I'm coming from. All right. So define the moves, right? After you know the moves, though, that is not enough, my friend, because I say, define your super moves, right? All right, you're Mario, right? Along comes a mushroom. Now you're not just Mario, you're Super Mario. You can break bricks and stuff, right? Oop, there's a flower. Now you're throwing fireballs. So my question is that when you're looking at what you have, what are your super moves? What are the things that you are really, really, really good at, right? What are the things that actually are, it makes you unique? When we're doing anything, we've got to know how to play as ourselves and how to take advantage of that. I remember when I was a real estate, the only sales career that I absolutely did not succeed at. I mean, I got a few sales. I wasn't the worst, but I definitely was not on the upper end of the people I was around. I remember showing up like all cocky. I had left a job as a B2B wireless salesperson for a company called Altel. And I left that and I started selling real estate because it's easy. Anyone could sell this. Come on. If I could sell phones, I could sell this. And I sat down and I didn't know what to do, honestly. And there was there was a woman that was, in my judgment, about as smart as a box of rocks. Her name was Devonda Smith. And in my mind, I'm like, we're not even in the same league. Oh, I'm so smart. I'm so whatever. One of the things that she said she would do is she's like, I can't remember if it was call me, but basically anyone that she worked with, she would make cupcakes. She would bake for them. And I think she even had that on her, one of her slogans was, I'll make you a pie. It was like, she sold at least 10 times more than me. Funny enough, I think as I was about to leave 6 months into my failed career, she went and she ran for mayor. Now she lost, but because again, I think her slogan was still bake them a pie. There was some her whole thing was I'll make you something. I'll bake you something. That was her competitive advantage, and she blew me away. That's what I'm talking about. There was a guy that I worked with a couple of years ago. Actually, I worked with him all the way up until not too long ago. His name was John. And John, last name was Wetmore. He was really not great at a lot of things, but he was really good at, he was doing about as much as he could with work, but he was like Superman with systems. And it was almost like he just needed permission to create systems and to engineer those things. And what happened was this guy literally, he 10x'd his business. It was less than a year, his business grew by 10. because he found out and figured out his super move. Now, he couldn't stop doing the regular move. He still had to do the regular move, but he did his super move. So I'm going to ask you, what is your super move? And to ask you that, like, you really have to take inventory of saying, like, well, what's like unique about me as a human being? What's unique about the way I think? What's unique about my approach? What's unique about my values? Now we're getting into it. What do you value? What's unique about your skills? What skills do you have that you're 10 times better at than anyone else? Maybe it's just a couple skills. It's fine. What are they? For me, I really like to create intrigue with, by the way that I send people, certain items. That's like, I just love to prospect that way. It just makes me feel great. That's one of my unique talents. Some people don't have that. So don't play like me, play like you. And so I would just ask, what are those things that you do exceptionally well? And there's multiple arenas. And so when you go through and take inventory, just everything, like in terms of how you run your family, in terms of how you run your life, in terms of how your health is, in terms of how your finances or your business or your spiritual life or any of those things, you just put it all out. And what happens is you'll see some things that overlap. And if you're not being modest, you'll see some things that that you're great at. So we need to know your super moves, okay? That I think is going to be key. Next, we need to track your score. Now, that's what we've been doing. We've been doing we've been following, right, that daily tracking. Did you win today? Did you lose today? Whatever, right? We have created a scenario to where you're tracking, right? You want to know, did I do the thing? Do you want to be able to remind yourself you're a winner? You want to be able to remind yourself, right, that you're making progress. So tracking your moves. A couple of final parts of that is, I would say, having a goal period. Now, so we've done that. We've done the 12-week period. We've done the 1 week period. We got the daily period. It's like sometimes all the way down to maybe the time where you're on, maybe your stage time or your on time, maybe it's only an hour a day. You can win in only an hour a day. An hour of focused attention towards what you're doing, especially if we're open to our super moves. So think about this, right? Football, you have quarters. Soccer, I think you have 3 periods. College basketball, there's halftime, right? You have the thing that splits it in half. And so the idea is that we want to be able to have time to adjust. So we've been doing the daily thing. But there's other ways of doing it, my friend. What is reasonable? And I would say that the question we want to look at is what's a reasonable, sustainable length of time for our activity, right? If we can do this for an hour, that's your goal, that's your period, right? That's your game period. I really believe if you look at most research, you're going to find that if you are on, if it's laser focus and it involves other people and that kind of thing, you really are talking about a 45-minute stretch of time where you can give ultimate focus before you should take a 5 to 10-minute break. So you can do lots of research on the Pomodoro technique if you want to. Now, all of these things, guys, so far, all reach into the elements of flow, right? Elements of flow. It has you have a defined goal of something that you want. You have immediate feedback of win and loss. It's not too hard, but it's not too easy. We have a time definition, and you're in control over what's happening. Those are some of those things. And then once that happens, we get put into a place to where we are almost in an effortless place. And so thinking about that, this is all congruent with the science of flow. The final thing I would say is finding a way to remind yourself that you're having fun. Right? If you've played sports, I know a lot of you guys have. If you play sports, you know that it's not always you're yeah, this is fun, but it's it feels like concentration, right? It feels like willing something to happen. And the interesting thing is if you want to find people who typically have longevity in their careers, you find people who are simultaneously able to focus with their will, but also keep it light. Like, I'm serious, but I'm not taking myself too seriously, right? Like, I'm on, but I'm having fun too. Joke around, play around, find ways to lighten the mood, find ways to remind yourself of like, here I am, and I'm having fun. This is what fun looks like. And if your work doesn't show your children what fun looks like, you're doing the wrong thing, or you're doing it the wrong way. So how can we make our work and fun align? There's a poem, and I always say this, and it is the Master of the Art of Living. And I'm going to go into game boards here in a second, and I actually want to invite you guys to participate. But there's a poem by James Michener, I think is the guy they credited with it. And it goes like this: the master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he's always doing both.